friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and we've got the Shieldon BULBASAUR today. This is the one with the satin finish. You can also get it with a mirror finish blade, 14C28N steel, G10 handle scales only in this green and black G10. It's the only way it comes. And what do I think of this knife? How much does it cost? Well, it costs $69.95 at White Mountain Knives. You get to save 10% with coupon code CCE. That makes it $62.96. So 63 US dollars. That's about 82, 81 Canadian dollars for this knife. And we're going to talk about if it's worth it or not. So stick around. We're going to get into it right now. Let's start off with what it comes with. It comes with this sheath. It's got blue stitching. There's a snapback here. And if you want to carry your knife that way, it's totally possible. Here we go. We've got a, well, somewhat unique blade shape. Is this a spear point? Is it a leaf shape? Is it just a dramatic drop point? Yeah, it's one of those. We've got a full flat grind right to the spine. Again, that's 14C28N stainless steel. We've got a very pointy tip there, really good for piercing if you need to do some piercing. We've got some big blocky jimping up here. It does offer extra grip, so that's good. It's not just for show, it actually is functional. With a little bit of a thumb riser there. We've got a back swept plunge, so the plunge actually, part of it hides underneath the handle scale right there. Just a bit of it. Sharpener's choil is big enough to be useful that it comes past the plunge, which is good. That's certainly not a forward choil. I don't think they ever intended it to be. The sharpening on it, they sharpened it probably just a, not probably, just a tiny bit better than average, which is okay. The grind angles, they're a bit wonky, but so is pretty much every knife that I review. And it performs quite well. The blade shape is very useful. Plunging into things, that works. You've got this big guard that used to be, well, it's the flipper when it's closed. So it's pretty safe to plunge into things. Slices and cuts quite well with that nice belly on there and this nice full flat grind. This steel here is just a tiny bit under 1/8 of an inch, so it's not big, chunky, hefty. It's actually a very functional blade in terms of usefulness for cutting. I did a fair bit of testing with this like I do with all my knives, and I quite liked it. Now, this is not the mirror finish. This is just their satin finish, but they did polish it somewhat. It's fairly reflective, which means it's getting my handle, my fingerprints, my handprints, my fingerprints all over the place. And that's just the nature of the beast when I'm holding knives. It's okay. The badging on the knife, on this side here it says BULBASAUR, and below that in tiny letters says Django. That's not too big. I don't mind that. Here on the Ricasso, 9061 G-N, that's the model number. And on this side we've got the Shieldon logo right there. And then right there it says Sandvik 14C28N. It's nice lettering. It's not, black. It's just a nice laser etched details without being too in your face or too big. We've got ball bearings. We've got a knife that, it's got pretty good smoothness to it. Opens very well. Light switch method works great. Pulling a little bit off to the side works as well. The jimping on there is very smoothed off. It's a little bit too smooth. I wish that the jimping on there was just a little bit more grippy, but it's not a big deal. It's quite good. Certainly doesn't do any scratching or irritating on your finger. So that's good. We'll take it apart and show you everything inside there a little bit later. Lockup, it's just a tiniest little bit later than I like. Not a problem at all. There's still a long ways for it to wear to move across, so that's good. The cutout here is huge to get at that lock release. Look at that. It's just loads of room to get your thumb in there. No problem at all to disengage it. They've got a little bit of jimping on the top there. With how much room they've got here, they didn't even really need to do that, but it's certainly okay. And it works well, you know, right or left-handed to disengage that lock quite easily. And, you know, it works. Now the pocket clip is right side only, so it's not the best for left-handers if you like to put your pocket on the left side. No, put it in your left side pocket. We've got nice 3D milled G10, as you can see from those lines in there, so it's thickest right down the middle, and then it comes back a little bit. It's fairly smoothly polished. There's no jimping here on the spine. There's a little bit here on the belly for your last two fingers. My hands are into the extra large range, and look at that. You've got lots of knife handle sticking out there. It's a pretty big knife. We've got a nice narrowing here, and then at the very end you got your lanyard hole. I wish they would have chamfered the edges on that. They're a little bit crisp on the edge. They might start to you know, create some little bit fraying on some paracord if you use paracord on there. So I wish they would have just chamfered it a little bit, but it's not bad. I like that it's right at the end and your paracord can come out the back without, you know, creating an irritation right there. And with it being a little bit longer, you know, it comes out anyways, no problem. We've got, oh, I didn't say this before, alignment. It's pretty good. On the back side, you see that we've got these hourglass-shaped pins for the open pillar construction. Quite nice. The G10 here on the pivot has been milled, so there's sort of a round section there. It looks quite interesting the way that's made. And then we've got a pivot collar there. I think it's just a steel pivot collar. And then we've got the screws, T8 screw on both sides. So it's going to be good. I need to find out if it's a D-shaped pin or if it's a free spinning pin. We'll find that out in just a little while. It is fairly well skeletonized, so we'll see that. I need to show you how well the pocket clip works. The pocket clip is not a deep carry clip, and it does have a little flat section on the top there, and it seems to work just fine. See, it wants to climb over right away and all the way in. Not a big deal. It looks okay. Of course, I prefer a deep carry clip, but even for taking the knife out of your pocket, because you've got those button screws, it just gives you a little bit extra grip to pull it out with your thumb. So there's that. It would have been nice if there had been two holes on this side as well. They would have had to create a little platform for it, a little flat section as well for the pocket clip. But since only 10% of us, roughly, are lefties, we don't get left-handed knives all that often, unless they're fully ambidextrous. This one's okay. Let's take it apart and I'll show you exactly how it's constructed. Remember, use something like this drive grip. Right now, the best place to get this stuff is eBay. Used to be Amazon. Right now, eBay is the best place to get this. Here it is taken apart. Yeah, the screws came off fairly well, thanks to the drive grip. Yeah, that's the third time. That's enough, right? That's enough showing you that stuff. I really, really like it. And, you know, the pivot collar, nicely anodized, good quality screw here. Yeah, they are free spinning. I did have to use my little table vise, and if you don't have a little table vise, it's a good idea to get one if you're in the knife hobby. I would recommend to Shieldon that they make it so that the pivot screws don't spin. Be careful when you're taking this thing apart. There is a little bit of Loctite in there, or extra tightness. I don't see evidence of Loctite in here, but oh, there is a little bit of a flat thread mark right there. So I guess the threads got pinched somehow. That might be why it was a little bit harder to come out. It's quite wet. There's a lot of light oil in these knives. So while I was using the knife, when I got it out of the package and stuff, if you watch the unboxing, yeah, oil was coming out quite often, and I would wipe it off quite regularly. And I'm going to get rid of some of the excess here around the pivot. You know, leave the oil on the pivot though. The ceramic ball bearings in plastic or nylon cage, that's just fine, or holder. And we've got the stop pin, so a captured stop pin in there with a closed off front. I like it when it's closed off like this on a captured stop pin. I don't like this to be open at the front, and it's not. So I like this. So there you go. Construction, okay. I don't give it a good rating because I wish that there was a D-shaped pivot pin and better quality screws right there. But it passes. Just before I go over all the sizes and dimensions, I should tell you that, yeah, there was no blade play side to side, up and down. I forgot to mention that before. That is quite nice. Sizes, dimensions, all that stuff. How much does this thing weigh? It's 127 grams. That's 4.5 ounces. The sharpness from the factory, 135 bests. Average is 140 bests, so just a tiny bit better. So pretty close to average. The blade length and the cutting edge length are exactly the same to the 1/10 of a millimeter, 93.3 millimeters, 3.67 inches. So yeah, pretty big knife. The thickness of the steel, 2.95 millimeters, 0.1167 of an inch. So like I said, close to 1/8 of an inch. The width or depth of the blade, 32.7 millimeters at the widest point, 1.29 inches. How thin is it behind the grind? Measured in 3 places, roughly where my fingers are. 0.56 millimeters, 22 thousandths of an inch. I wish it was a bit thinner. The grind angles. Well, this side's got an average of 21.1. This side's got an average of 19.4. But it started at the tip at 20.7, went to 19.6, 19.5, and then just the last 1/4 of an inch, 24.5 degrees. This side started at 21.4, and then most of the section back here where my fingers are now was 18.4. So 3 degrees of change on this side. Unfortunately, that's about average for the business. That's sad. That's really sad. And they should do better getting the same angle along here, at least within 1 degree along the length. I know they're doing it by hand across a wheel, but they got to do less of this while they're going across a wheel. They're supposed to be the professionals. They're the ones that are trained to sharpen knives. They should sharpen knives well. And no, I'm not just picking on Shieldon. Almost every single company does the same thing. And so, yeah, all the companies I'm picking on. Back to the dimensions and measurements. Sorry about that little rant. No, I'm not. The handle length, 125.2 millimeters, 4.93 inches. The grip area, 10.5 centimeters, 4.1 inches. The thickness of the handle, 14.96 millimeters, 0.589 of an inch. So it is a bigger knife. The handle depth within the grip area, its widest right here, 27.2 millimeters, 1.07 inches. When the knife is closed, the widest point's not the flipper, it's right here, 37.6 millimeters, 1.48 of an inch. And the total length of this knife from tip to tail, 219 millimeters, 8.62 inches. So what are my final thoughts? It's okay. I think it's a little bit overpriced for what it is. Currently, on the day that I'm recording this, they're all sold out at White Mountain Knives. There will be some other stores where you can find this. I'll try to leave some links down below, but definitely if you go to White Mountain Knives, they've got a notify me orange button. You put your email address in there, click that, and you will get an email when they're back in stock. And I quite like White Mountain Knives because with the 10% discount, it's exceedingly rare that you'll find better prices for almost everything that they sell. So there you go. I'll leave a website link for Shieldon directly. Shieldon started off as an OEM company where they make knives for other people, other companies, and recently they started making knives under their own brand. And they've got a little startup hiccups, but I think they're going to be doing better. I think they're going to... just like most companies, the first product out of the gate, maybe not that great. I'm not comparing them to Tesla, but those first cars that came off the line, yeah, now they're doing better. Just like most companies, that's just the way it is. The pros, it's got a cool look. Functionality of the blade is very high. It's a very functional blade. I do wish it was a little bit thinner. I'd like things like a different pocket clip. I'd like things as better hardware. That's a big deal to me, actually. Maybe a D-shaped pin, but this is functional. It is usable. It's just a little bit dangerous if you put a screwdriver, one on each side, because it might slip. And the danger is partly that you'll stab yourself with a screwdriver, but more so, you know, the knife turns on you and cuts you or something. So it's good to get one of those little vices. And I'd prefer T8 screws over T6. I just don't like T6. These were a little bit stripped from the factory, but that's stripped in the tightening mode. To take them out, like I said, if you use drive grip, you can take them out. Just when you tighten them back up again, be careful not to tighten too much because the edge of those teeth on the tightening end of it are already a little bit stripped out. So there you go, the Bulbasaur. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube member supporters. If you want to support the channel, go to patreon.com/CCE or click join right down here beside the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that and then hit the bell so you'll be notified of all the reviews coming up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. And bye for now.